We've been talking extensively about the proposed repeal of the Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare, and the instatement of the American Health Care Act, known as, at least to me, as Republicare or GOP care. There has been an analysis done of who stands to lose the most or to be damaged the most by the plan as proposed by Republicans so far. This may surprise you. This may not surprise you. It didn't surprise me. The Americans who stand to lose the most from the proposed repeal of Obamacare and replacement with the recently released AHA are none other than Donald Trump voters. According to a new analysis from Upshot, voters who would be eligible for a tax credit that would be so let me restate it. Voters who under the new plan would be eligible for a tax credit would be receiving at least 1,000 fewer dollars in subsidy than they are eligible for under Obamacare. And that group supported Donald Trump by a 7-point margin over Hillary Clinton. And the voters hit the hardest, those who would be eligible for a $5,000 tax credit. I'm sorry, for the largest tax credit, might receive a $5,000 smaller tax credit under the Republican plan. They overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton by a 59-36 margin. So I know I didn't necessarily explain it in the simplest way. We're going to put up a graph for our audience that's watching along with us. And as you can see here, looking at the different groups, and if you're just listening to me, check out the data on this from Upshot. The more you stand to lose in terms of subsidies under the Republican proposed bill, the more likely you are, by and large, to have supported Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. This is in part because the Republican plan offers less assistance to older and lower income Americans, particularly in rural areas, according to Kaiser data. And members of those groups are more likely to have voted for Donald Trump than for Hillary Clinton. The older and rural Americans would be hit harder because the proposal for the AHA would not provide a larger tax credit to people with more expensive plans. And as you may know, not only do older Americans already pay the highest premiums, the proposed AHA, Republicare, would allow insurers to raise premiums drastically on older Americans. The AARP, the American Association for Retired People or Persons, I don't remember exactly, not exactly known as a liberal group, they oppose this plan. And as I was reading this, Pat, I was struck. It's almost like many Trump voters cluelessly voted against their own best interests. Were you as shocked as I was to hear that?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, if you rank the states based off of how much they pay out in federal taxes versus how much they pay in, the makers in this instance tend to be from more liberal states. I mean, California is a prime example. And it makes sense because in some of these southern, more rural areas, they may benefit off of the social safety net a little bit more, things like the SNAP program, things like Medicaid. So these people tend to vote for Trump, and they're voting against their own interests. We've known this for a long time, and now this applies to healthcare as well.
Well, you by mentioning California, this is sort of the next point I was going to get to, which is that there's another layer to this. So already just based on the subsidies that people would gain or lose under this plan, Trump voters will be disproportionately hurt by this proposal, okay? But there's another issue, which is if you look at states like our home state of Massachusetts, which already had a program that predated and exceeded Obamacare in terms of what it provided to residents of Massachusetts. If you look at states like California, for example, other liberal states, these are states where, in the absence of the Affordable Care Act, have not only the political will and desire, but also the finances to take care of this problem for people at no doubt at a state expense. It won't be free, but they have the political will and the finances to do it. Many of these particularly red states, not only don't have an interest if the ACA goes away in saying, hey, we're going to create something new to make sure people don't lose coverage, because we've heard from Republicans increasingly that it doesn't matter if people lose coverage. We need a free market moral system in their view. They don't have the money because a lot of times it's the red states that actually financially are depending on both the federal government and the excess paying into the federal government coffers from states in order to fund their day-to-day operations. So not only will the specifics of the AHA hurt more Trump voters than Clinton voters or non-Trump voters, which is the majority of Americans, you're also going to see that those red states are going to be both unable and unwilling to actually try to resolve the problem that will be caused by the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. We might hear this as progressives and say, David, aha, finally, Republicans are going to get blamed. No, 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 not so fast. It would make sense when you have a Republican president, Republican control of the House and Senate, and mostly Republican governors, that if healthcare goes south, you blame Republicans. But I would not jump to that conclusion yet, because the Republicans will say something like, if it wasn't for how badly Obamacare destroyed everything, it never would have been so bad in the first place, or they'll come up with something else. Trump already suggested last week, hey, if Republicare doesn't pass, let's just let Obamacare fail, maybe because we don't fund it properly, and then we'll just blame Democrats, and then they can probably ride that into re-election campaigns. So maybe the Trumpists won't care if their healthcare prices explode as long as you can keep Muslims and Mexicans out. Maybe they'll hold Democrats to blame. I don't know, but I wouldn't assume that it will just be victory for Democrats in that case.
Today's program made possible in part by Blue Apron. For under $10 a meal, Blue Apron will deliver easy to follow seasonal recipes with, you know I like it, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door. No more overspending at restaurants or ending up with ingredients that you end up putting in the trash because you bought too much of it. Not to mention, Blue Apron has also partnered with 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers all over the U.S., and you get the exact amount of each ingredient required. No food waste. Some of the meals available in March include salmon piccata with orzo and broccoli, vegetable chili and baked sweet potatoes with crispy tortilla strips, and I actually made this one last week. Excellent. Spicy shrimp coconut curry with cabbage and rice. You can check out this week's menu, get your first 3 meals for free. You also get free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Pakman. That's blueapron.com/PAKMAN. You will love not only how good it feels, but also tastes to create great home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. Check it out, 3 meals for free. blueapron.com/PAKMAN.